Look at that.
Ron DeSantis says he wouldn't be Trump's running mate. I'm not a number 2 guy.
You can be, though, and then you'd be the number 1 guy.
And then it was Trump's campaign said he's not anybody's guy. I think that was Stephen Chung who said that.
That's so pointless.
Yeah, I mean, look, the argument is Donald Trump did like a C+ job in a lot of areas in his first term. He didn't drain the swamp. He fired some people. He brought in some really bad people. But foreign policy-wise, I think Trump did a very, very good job, especially with the Abraham Accords, with trying to get our troops out of Syria, crushing ISIS. Those things are really great. And then the argument now is, if we're looking at these 2 guys, Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump, there's one thing that I care about the most. I think foreign policy-wise, it's hard to know for sure. Ron DeSantis has some experience in foreign policy. Donald Trump has good foreign policy, not perfect foreign policy, but better than Obama, better than Biden, better than whatever the Democrats have to offer. The question I have is, who is more likely to fire people? Donald Trump, even if it's only by 1%, because he wants revenge. And the shift, which has become obvious to me, is that when asked about the greatest threat the country faces, Trump said it's not China, which is a marked shift from where he was in his first and second campaigns. He said it's within this country, referring to bureaucrats working for government who can't be fired. So one of the things Trump did near the end of his term, which was reversed by the Democrats, by Joe Biden, was the Schedule F attempt. You can't just fire federal employees. They're protected. It's very difficult. So Trump was trying to strip away at those protections to try and start getting some of these people fired. I think Ron DeSantis, because for a few reasons, it'll be his first term if he does get elected, and he is being backed by some prominent establishment figures, is more likely to say, let's negotiate and figure out how we don't go to war with each other. I won't go around firing and destroying everything, but you guys let me get some of these policies through. Donald Trump is more likely to go in and say, I will fire everyone. I will nuke all of these bureaucrats and agencies. I would rather Donald Trump go in and fire and clean house, and then 4 years from now, be it DeSantis or whoever else, Ramaswamy, or maybe some other libertarian, I have no idea. Someone can then come in without these bureaucratic permanent government individuals who have been in government for 30 years without being elected. Those people have to be fired. The problem.
Can I ask a question? Why didn't he do it the first time?
Trump was trying to negotiate. It was a.
Sounds like an excuse.
What does that mean? Give me an argument.
I'm just saying, there's always a reason why, there's an excuse for why Trump wasn't able to do something in his first term.
It's literally the explanation of what Trump was doing. Trump talked to Sheldon Adelstein. He gets these big donors and they're like, listen, we're going to let you do your thing, but you got to play ball with us. And Trump says, you got it, boss. And then what ends up happening? John Bolton garbage. That's what Ron DeSantis is doing right now with Ken Griffin. So my argument is Donald Trump made a big mistake with these morons that Ron DeSantis is doing right now. Trump is pissed off. They screwed him over and stabbed him in the back, and is more likely, even if it is only 2%, to go in and try to fire these people and just gut them from the system. Whereas I see DeSantis once again meeting with big neocon donors and playing the game that Trump was playing first time around.
Trump was funded by Big Pharma. I mean, they donated to his campaign. So it's like, I don't know.
You're making my argument. That's my point.
Right. So I don't know who these establishment people are.
Ken Griffin.
Okay. Who else? Everybody says that DeSantis is endorsed by, Paul Ryan, and he's Jeb Bush 2.0 and all this stuff. And I see absolutely zero evidence when really.
Well, the Jeb Bush thing is dumb.
I mean, the whole thing is absolutely stupid. Trump endorsed Paul Ryan. Trump endorsed John McCain. I mean,
yes.
I don't understand how they can use these attacks against him.
8 years ago.
Okay.
And I think that was bad. And I did not vote for Trump in 2016.
Good. I mean, I
did.
And that's the thing. I want to stress for people that don't know who I am or don't know my position. I am a 2-time Trump voter. I voted for him in 2016. I voted for him in 2020, even though I was off the Trump train, in the COVID years, because he subsidized the presidency to Fauci. And
you do sound like a 2-timer Trump voter.
I was.
You just said something I fully agree with.
I was hardcore too. I ran a whole account.
I was making a 2-timer. I'm saying you betrayed it. I was making a bad pun.
Gotcha. No, I got you.
If Trump were to go in and fire all these people,
change your support. You don't have to stay.
I'm giving you a hard time.
I understand.
Who would he replace them with is my concern, because he did not make good personnel choices.
No one.
If he went in and were to fire a bunch of people, who would he replace them with?
Trump?
Yeah, I don't have faith in him. I think that he failed in his first term by giving the country away to the medical industry in the last year.
Jared Kushner.
And that's another conversation completely. His family. What are you doing giving your family power, bro?
I mean, I voted for Trump, not Jared Kushner, not Fauci, and that's who I got.
Yeah, I don't want nepotism in the White House. It's disgusting. I want talented well-situated people that can do their job really, really well that may not even know each other. That's what I want.
And I got a man that went on a vaccine tour for the last year and a half in office, pushing an experimental clot shot. Sorry, I don't know if I can say that on YouTube.
Well, it was experimental.
It is experimental. And to this day, one of the biggest reasons why I no longer support this man is because to this day, he goes and praises the damn vaccine and Operation Warp Speed, takes credit for all of it, says it's the greatest thing that ever happened to mankind. I mean, one of them, he said he saved 500 million people with it, or sorry, maybe it's 100 million. I don't want to get whatever. I'm just saying a gigantic amount of people, which is not true. And he has yet to take responsibility for any of the adverse reactions. He doesn't even acknowledge them. And I think that's absolutely disgusting. And I cannot support him. And I understand that the argument is Ron DeSantis pushed it early on too, right? Ron DeSantis at least can understand that was wrong and has moved past it and is now fighting against it, So I just Trump has such a big ego that he cannot take responsibility for anything he ever did wrong. He just continues to double down, and it's disgusting.
The issue I take with this, the first thing I'll say is our obligatory, just talk to a doctor about what is right for you, and make sure you find a good and trustworthy doctor, because they do exist. I know. I'm literally going to one next week because I got to get surgery or whatever. But here's where I'm at politically, especially when it comes to RFK. I don't agree with him on a lot of the stuff he said, especially the EUA stuff on ivermectin and vaccines. There's a lot of people who adamantly believe things because they choose to believe them and they think they're right about everything. Whereas my positions are typically unless I see something to a great degree that provides confirmation, there's not much I can really say about it. So, we've had several debates on this show. I've debated several leftist individuals, and they'll ask me a direct question about something political. I'll be like, don't know. Literally, I have no, why don't you have a position on this? When it comes to the vax stuff, I don't know. That's why I'm just I don't know, talk to a doctor. What I can say is Donald Trump refuses to back down from this as one of his major campaign victories. What we do know is that there was a judge, I think it was in New York, who ruled that the vaccine does not prevent transmission of the virus. And then later on, you end up with a bunch of news outlets claiming that was fake news. Mm-hmm. This was a judge recently. What is it? The judge who gagged the Biden campaign on censorship is, I believe, the same judge who said that the vaccine was not preventing transmission. So the vaccine was
the conspiracy theorists, us crazy conspiracy
But the media
right.
then said the inverse. So my point is basically I see these conflicting and contradictory stories, and then I wonder why it is that people choose to take a stance on something that it's very difficult to understand, instead of just saying you know what, honestly, I don't know. I don't know how you can draw a conclusion on this one. I'll give you an example. RFK talking about ivermectin. I really, for the life of me, even after sitting with Joe Rogan, have never been able to figure out how anyone justifies their stance on ivermectin.
What did he say about ivermectin?
RFK said that the reason ivermectin was never approved was because it would end the emergency use authorization for the vaccines, which is just logically inconsistent. They granted the EUA to monoclonal antibodies. If it were true that there were alternative treatments like ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine, they literally could have just given it an EUA. Mm-hmm. People then make a money argument. I think Alex Stein was arguing this, that because ivermectin is so cheap, they didn't want to give it an EUA. And I say, make that argument. I'm not making that argument. I'm literally saying for RFK Jr. to come out and be like, that's the reason they didn't approve it is because they wanted to sell vaccines and they needed the EUA. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. I hear this kind of stuff all the time, and no one ever gives me a legitimate answer. So we talk about the studies pertaining to ivermectin. We talk about the studies. Here's what I have to say. Here's what I want to say about the vaccine. For instance, it's my problem with the vaccine is nothing to do with whether or not anyone thinks it's good or bad. I don't know. I can only tell you, make sure you trust your doctor, and there's a good one. And there are some good ones out there. They're not super expensive. You just got to go to the right places, get out of cities, and you'll find good doctors. But the issue here is government mandates of medication. I'm not going to sit here and make medical arguments. I have no idea. Trump wants to tout this as a major success. Trump also says the mandates were bad. Ron DeSantis also says the mandates were bad. What am I supposed to argue? How am I supposed to have a conversation with someone when they make a definitive scientific statement on something that I can read all these studies and I'm just like, well, I literally have no idea. I'm not a doctor. Well, I can mention Just the News, for instance, reported there's more data coming out about people suffering from myocarditis, which is now confirmed for many of these vaccines. Mm-hmm. There are concerns around, I think one was pulled. I think Johnson & Johnson may have been pulled. But ultimately, I am not making YouTube, I'm not making any widespread claims about all the vaccines. My point is, there is data coming out, but even with this, there is still the simple statistical argument that if you mandate 400 million doses of a vaccine, Don't be surprised if you get 1,000 news stories about adverse events. That does not mean there is a higher density of adverse events. It does, however, suggest to the libertarian point, the government should not be mandating medications to people, which is where I'm at. Blaming Donald Trump for what Democrat governors did does nothing to convince me of why I should vote for Ron DeSantis.
I'm not. That's not what I did at all. I'm saying that he has never backed down. He continues to praise Operation Warp Speed and rushing the vaccine. Just a few days ago, sorry, I am so bad with time. Like, I don't know if it was a week ago, 2 weeks ago, yesterday.
That's just the present epoch.
It's
like
so
things
weird.
move so quickly and so strangely, you never know.
No,
I got.
Wait. Let me just say one thing. He was just, again, saying how great it was that he was saying it usually takes the FDA between 5 and 12 years or 9 and 12 years to get this out, but he got it out in 9 months. That's what it was. In 9 months. Isn't that, I mean, that's not something to brag about.
My point is,
that's kind of bad.
My point
this stuff should be tested longer.
This isn't, I'll tell you exactly what my thoughts are on this. I don't think you actually care.
What do you mean?
It makes no sense for you to say these things to me because you never,
I don't care?
Yeah, I don't think you care at all.
Really? Okay, because I think
what?
that my mom passed away because of it.
Well, but okay. And I'm sorry to hear about your mom.
I'm not trying to bring that into it, but to say that I don't care about what the vaccine is doing to people. I know people that were injured after taking this vaccine. What do you mean I don't care? This isn't just a political point against Trump. This is serious.
When has anyone ever talked about the efficacy of testing criteria?
Okay, but this was rushed into society. This was something that...
So if your argument is authoritarianism and government mandates, I agree.
Yeah.
If your argument is the science was done wrong, I'm like, when has anyone ever known anything about how the science is supposed to be done?
But Trump rushing it and bragging that he rushed it without proper testing is a problem, and he continues to praise it and double down and say that he saved 100 million people, when that's not true.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.